bringing you hot, smoldering topics on a weekly basis. Your participation is important.
Yes, indeed. And as per tradition, we will definitely take your calls much later because your participation is important. And this is the Burning Issue Thursday edition here on 89.9 in Lusaka and we are also live on our partner radio stations. As always, we are live on iWave FM radio in Chingola, covering the rest of the Copper Belt on 90.1 FM, and also live on Tuta FM in Mansa, covering Bokula Province on 90.7 FM, and live on Muchinga Radio in Chinsali, to be precise, and covering Muchinga Province, it's on 88.1. And Central Province is also well covered, and we're live on Spice FM Radio on 91.1 FM. And here in Lusaka, I mentioned much earlier, we are on 89.9 here. On 5 FM, and also live in Southern Province, we are live on Wave FM radio on 98.7, covering the rest of Southern Province. Interesting enough, we are also live on our Facebook page, so you can follow our conversation on our Facebook page, and it's 5FM Radio Zambia. And we have a YouTube channel as well. It's 5FM Zambia. Feel free to follow our conversation. We would love to also hear from you. Please do so by sending us your WhatsApp messages in advance, and also SMSs are welcome on the number that I am about to give you now, which is 0761 912493. That number, you can start sending your messages via WhatsApp or indeed ordinary SMSs. Once again, the number is 0761 912493. Later on, I'll open my 0955-221515 line for your phone calls in order to interact with our guest. I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. My guest today is someone we have not listened to in a long time, or we have not hosted in a long time here on the Happy World of 5FM Radio, but he's been on our news regularly. And of course, he is a president of the Green Party. It is a political party. And of course, Mr. Peter Sinkamba, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the program. It's been a long time.
Thank you very much, Zachariah. Thank you very much, the listeners out there. It's been a very, very long time indeed.
Yeah.
So close to 5 years I haven't been here, and
I think so, yes.
yeah. Yet I was the first one to feature.
You know,
when you launched the station almost 20 years ago.
Yes. We turned 20 on the 1st of April.
Yes, just a few days after you went live.
Yes.
I was one of the first guests.
Yes.
It's good to be here.
20 years down the line.
Absolutely.
It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
It's also how consistent you've been. I mean, it's very common in the political setup that when you want to aspire for presidency, you have to move to Lusaka because that's where the political hub is. But you have been on the Copper Belt all this time.
Absolutely. I mean, people relocate to Lusaka because this is where money is.
Yeah.
For those of us who are not into money, we remain where we are, comfort zone.
Indeed. But how have you been?
Well, very well, thank you. We've been all right in terms of our health. I think our good Lord has kept us going. Economically, we are quite challenged, all of us in the country, because of various factors. Probably some of them will cover them along the way. But the most important thing is that our good Lord has kept us going, and we look forward to continuous blessings from His blessed Lord.
Green Party president. Now, I remember, I would probably correct me if I'm wrong if I say 20 years ago, Green Party was a laughingstock. It was a joke.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
The initial times when we came,
yeah,
we were advancing the agenda of constitutional issues.
Yes.
That time, there was a big debate on the constitution.
Yes.
NCC.
Yes.
Remember the
National
constitutional whatever
coalition,
it was.
I think,
coalition
yes.
or something like that. Then we also came on the green issues, but from Citizens for a Better Environment.
Yes.
So we've had a mix of things. But from Green Party, again, the first radio station to host Green Party in Lusaka was 5FM.
Yeah.
Yes, when we were launching the party in 2012.
Yes.
We were able to be introduced here, and it caused a lot of confusion in Osaka with our manifesto.
Of course.
Yes,
of course.
When people heard that the Green Party, as we come, we shall legalize cannabis.
Yes.
It was a big story.
It was.
And before we could realize
and
it,
you end the name Ijapati Achamba. Man, yes, I remember.
We were immediately called by various radio stations, including Radio Phoenix. Short notice, no come. Mazabuka, everyone wanted us to try to explain that agenda.
Right.
So, but what I'm happy about is that 5FM was the first radio station to host us, and this is where the noise started from. With the late Matt P. as the one who was interviewing, and how
he was definitely calm and
but
soft, but hard
hitting on the questions.
Hence the name, the burning issue. So, but your party, yes, I know that the agenda that you put across to all of us was that you were going to legalize the cultivation of cannabis.
Cannabis, yes,
because you brought out the benefits that economically cannabis, if legalized, can bring to the economy of this country.
Yes.
Is that still your manifesto? Is it still your agenda as a political party?
It is our agenda.
Tell us how it all started.
Okay. When we formed the Green Party,
right,
we had to come up with a manifesto which was going to respond to the issues on the ground.
Right.
Because you don't just form a political party for the sake of joining the bandwagon of political parties. No, you must join the politics to try and come up with an agenda which is going to address the key issues which everyone else is not talking about.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you're talking about the same things, then why even form another party? Why not just join others?
Yeah.
So for us at the time, we are looking at a number of pressing issues. Economically was number one. At the time, our external debt portfolio had risen to about $7.5 billion. Okay? And then our domestic debt was also somewhere around $3 billion. So it was giving us somewhere around $10 billion as the total debt for the country.
Right.
And looking at what was happening then in the mining sector and all other economic sectors, to us, it appeared that it was going to be very difficult to liquidate that debt using the existing mainstream economics. So we needed to look at additional interventions that we could put in place, which could assist us mainly to address the issue of debt, how to liquidate it.
Right.
That was number one. Number two, the unemployment position was also extremely high. And at the time, we were looking at employment for the youths, graduates who were leaving universities, secondary schools, dropouts, and so on and so forth. At the time, we were looking at economically active youths who were not in employment, and who were doing nothing of economic value, so to speak. The number then was about 6 million youths, economically active, but not doing anything tangible. So we're looking at unemployment. Then thirdly, we're looking at diversification of industry. How do we diversify industries so that we are able to generate more wealth. Besides the cannabis, what else could we do to ensure that the economy is diversified? So when we looked at various revenue streams which could assist us, we looked at cannabis as one issue. And that time, there was no country that was talking about cannabis, the whole world. Okay, so we did our research, and it appeared to us that if you looked at the money which was being generated from the underworld, illegal or illicit transactions globally at that time, almost $400 billion was being generated from illicit transactions globally, according to WHO statistics.
Right.
And then also when you looked at the Zambia, it was one country where at the time, and I think it still remains the same, our population, which was in prisons, we had a situation where 2/3 of the prisoners were cannabis-related offenders, meaning that the prisons were full they were overflowing with prisoners simply because of cannabis. So we when we looked at that, we said, look, why don't we come up with a strategy which would be able to address this? And doing a further research, we established that actually most of these medicines that we find in our hospitals in Zambia and various chemists, they were manufactured from cannabis. You understand? So we said, but why don't we also participate in this particular business? So now we formulated the manifesto with high value crops as the center stage, such that we were now able to even make estimates of how much money we could generate and to liquidate the debt, which was then at 7.5.
Right.
And actually, when we made projections, we said if we don't address this debt situation, it will double in a very, very short time. It will double, and then we will fail to pay it. Because you see, we're coming from a scenario where just managed in 2005 to achieve what was called the HIPIC completion point. Yes, the highly indebted. Yes, Zambia was one of the few countries in Africa, including Ghana, which achieved the HIPIC completion point, and we had a debt write-off of about $7 billion. At the time, the president was the late Manawasa, and at the time he was dying, there was only $900 million, less than $1 billion as debt. You understand? Which was sustainable at the time. But then over time, it started cascading upward until we were on those numbers that were becoming alarming. And we cautioned the people of Zambia, even though we recall the manifesto which we presented even on this radio station, was that if we don't move in this direction, you Zambians, you shall suffer, and you shall suffer serious consequences of debt. You'll be going to the trap. And exactly, we have been proven. Today, the debt official is almost $15 billion, and then you include the private sector, it's almost $30 billion. That's where we're sitting at the moment. Official at almost $15 billion, and then with almost another $15 billion pushing us
That's
to
more than
billion.
triple the
Yes.
the debt that you anticipated.
Yes. in terms of unemployment, the unemployment levels have gone very high. At the time when we were coming up with our manifesto, we were looking at about 2 million youths to be absorbed into various value chains of the production of cannabis.
How was your plan? What was the laid down plan in terms of implementation?
Okay, we had this plan. Number one. We use Zambia National Service as the main driver of the cannabis agenda. But we also looked at what was called outgrower schemes in high security zones. For example, we had anticipated at the time there were 10 provinces. Okay, so we said, okay, if we have a farm for cannabis under Zambia National Service
in each province,
so farms, okay, and then we have a second one, which is a high security zone for outgrower schemes, okay, where we're going to get individuals, small scale farmers that wanted to participate in the cultivation. We place them in the high security zones where they could cultivate and ensure that the security systems are put in place to avoid any possibilities of abuse.
Right.
Okay. So that was at the cultivation level.
Yes.
And then we were looking at employing, like I said, 2 million youths, and then have industries, various industries. And the cannabis we're talking about is twofold. On one hand, we're looking at medical cannabis, which you could use to produce medicines. And
so this is not ordinary cannabis?
No.
Is it a particular variety?
We were looking at particular varieties that could produce. There's a variety which is suitable for medical cannabis.
Right.
Okay. And then hemp, okay, which is also a form of cannabis, but with very low THC levels, okay, below 1%. Okay, maybe 0.3 up to at our time we're looking at from 0.3% after 0.3% to about 1%.
And what is THC for
the tetrahydrocannabinol is the THC. This is the like when people smoke cannabis. When people smoke cannabis, the component of cannabis which make people to feel high, is this tetrahydrocannabinol.
Okay.
Yeah, so THC, the higher the THC, the more potent the chamber is in terms of vocals. Okay. So the lower it is, either in Bemba they call a mangwalala, if you smoke. So
that's
that one, that is the hemp one, which we now use for industrial production. And that's why it's called industrial hemp. That's one now. We in our plan.
Yeah.
We looked at number one to produce clothing. Like my jeans, my jeans and the canvas. So that
so it fiber, has that fiber.
That fiber, yes, is what is used
to produce
my jeans
and canvas
and stuff like that. Clothing.
Right.
Then we're also looking at using fiber to produce paper. You move away from using timber to produce paper, but you now use the
fiber from
the stalks, to produce paper. So in this regard, we're talking about if you have a clothing factory in each province, okay?
Yeah.
Then you have also a paper factory in each province, okay?
Anchored on those farms.
Yes, on those farms. So they do the supplies, okay? Then we're also looking at cosmetics. Most of these nice cosmetics that people use for their hair, for smooth skin, and so on and so forth, they come from oil, from industrial hemp. Okay, so we use now that oil to produce interchem. Where we are, there used to be interchem here.
Yeah, this is interchem building, actually, yes.
And here they used to produce very nice cosmetics, there was one type which was very common. Can I remember the name? It was one of the lotions that was very popular among women.
Okay.
Which we used to produce. We could produce
that from
that kind, yes, from hemp. Then apart from cosmetics, we could also produce fuels. Biodiesel.
Is it?
Yes, we could produce biodiesel, which you could use to supplement the mainstream which we are purchasing. So we're also looking at ropes.
Yes.
Those ropes which people use for like fishing, fishing nets, and yes. So you could produce that. Then also in terms of automotive industries, we could produce, the bodies for buses, like Marco Polo buses.
Yes.
That fiber. Yes, the fiberglass.
The fiber material as well, yeah.
So that you produce from industrial hemp, such that we could do even have orders from where they're manufacturing these buses to provide materials for them. Or you look at your car interiors of maybe Mercedes-Benz or BMW, you see that panel, very smooth, nice panel in your car. And those here, if you've been on a Mercedes car, you'll see those nice, shiny. So those are manufactured from industrial hemp. So we could go into transactions with the companies that manufacture those kind of vehicles, and we supply them those panels. So it was what we called industrialization arising from cannabis on one side. Then the medical one is where to produce medicines, including ARVs, which we are importing, and these medicines which are used for pain killing, for cancers, so it was a very very organized package, which unfortunately the people of Zambia had difficulties to comprehend, and in so doing, in their own wisdom, they decided not to vote for us into government when we contested in 2015 and when we contested in 2016. But that did not discourage us. Okay, we still decided to approach government. That time, President Edgar Lungu was the president of the Republic of Zambia.
Right.
We had a meeting with him at State House to discuss the possibility of implementing this.
Right.
Yes, and after having a very fruitful meeting, he requested us to see his officials at the Drug Enforcement Commission to initiate conversations around how it could be done to legalize cannabis for medicinal and industrial purposes. Unfortunately, that time we had Madame Litambawe, who was the DEC Commissioner General, yes, and a very, very reasonable woman, and wherever she is, I hope she is performing as excellent as she did at DEC.
Right.
She was able to work with us to initiate the initial conversations around how we could go about it. And also, as minister there, we had Honorable Kampiongo, who was also very, very good to assist us get this issue attended to. And he really was very he was working very hard to make sure that the program succeeded. So at the point when government finally was able to receive data from those on the ground, then we had cabinet approving in principle that bills were going to be introduced in parliament to legalize cannabis. And at that point, we started now working with various, institutions, the Drug Enforcement Commission and various other institutions to come up with the draft bills. Okay, we had the draft bill on medical cannabis. That time it was bill number 33, cannabis bill number 33 of 2021. By that time we were now into 2021. Can you imagine from 2012, the bills were only introduced in Parliament in 2021. That's the resilience.
We are very slow in progressive things.
Exactly. Then also the industrial hemp bill number 34 of 2021 was also ready. I think the two bills were ready by 2020. But then the process of presentation to Parliament which pushed us into 2021 because the legislative session of Parliament is the first quarter. Yes. So bills were presented, but unfortunately they were only passed by Parliament midnight, just before Parliament was dissolving.
Okay. In preparation for elections.
In preparation for elections, yes. So those bills were passed. They became now bills to be assented by the president.
Yes.
And I think about 19th May 2021, President ECL assented those bills to actually make them law of Zambia. So we have the Cannabis Act number 33 of 2021 and the Industrial Hemp Act number 34 of 2021. Now, unfortunately, the way they were structured, those laws, were that before they could take effect, there was need for the Minister of Agriculture to issue a commencement order.
Okay.
And also there was a need for the Minister of Health, which commencement order for the cannabis. One for the industrial hemp, the other one for cannabis. So at the time, we recall that Parliament was dissolved, so there was no minister. Okay, so from May, June, July, into elections, there was no minister. So the bills the Act of Parliament could not take effect on that score.
Yeah. And
incidentally, PF lost the elections. And now the new kid on the block, that is UPND, their statements were that we want to look at these laws before we can implement them. And 3 years down the line, they are still looking. We don't know what they're looking for, but nothing has happened. The Parliament passed those laws. The president assented. Those laws that cannot take effect because the Minister of Agriculture
and
Minister of Health have not issued the commencement orders by way of statutory instrument. And this is where we are stuck. But elsewhere, when we started talking about it, Malawians started talking about it, Zimbabweans started talking about, Lesotho started talking about. Lesotho was the first one to finally legalize, I think, about 2017. Zimbabwe came on board, Malawi came on board, and Rwanda, I think, is quite advanced as well. Uganda,
they have implemented this.
Yes.
And they are actually
because you see, there's the initial startup period, which is almost 3 years. You need to put in place a lot of things.
Yeah.
So for the cannabis, because the seeds are supposed to be approved. Every crop that you're going to grow in Zambia, for example, must be approved by the Seed Certification Institute in Sri Lanka. Okay?
Yeah.
You cannot just start growing things. It becomes an offense.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then also we need to grow varieties which should be able to give you the desired outcomes. So through the Seed Certification Institute, we should be able to come up with varieties. The way you have varieties for maize,
yes,
MM56, MM the way you have those is the way the cannabis seeds are also supposed to be. Which seed is better on the copper belt? Which seed?
Especially that better. You are targeting 10 provinces.
Yes.
Yeah.
So microclimate in every province is supposed to be taken into consideration in arriving at seed variety which can grow there. Also, the cell formations,
Yeah.
You need to look at your soil arrangements to make sure that everything. So it was a very, very good package. And at the time we had done the law, there were draft seed regulations, there were draft, a number of things were in place, just await for implementation. And we lost it. And up to now, we are headed towards the end of the third year. And absolutely nothing has happened. So this is about that program, which could have assisted us to dismantle the debt significantly, because from our estimates, if all these industries were going to have been put in place, okay, from medical, clothing, pharmaceutical, cosmetic, biodiesels, and what have you, if everything was in place, we would be generating not less than $36 billion per annum. And if we had to have done our homework very well in terms of the seed varieties, in terms of marshalling the resources to put up the industries that we are going to have been established, would have done quite a lot. And at the time we were coming into 2021, we had already initiated discussions with the IDC, the Industrial Development Center,
Yes.
a corporation, to see if we could do partner, because we even established companies in each province, which were going to be used as the launch pad for the program. On the Copper Belt, we had the Copper Belt Hemp Company here in Lusaka, the Lusaka Hemp Company; in Western Province, the Western Hemp Company; in Northwestern Province, the Northwest Hemp Company; Southern Province, the Southern Hemp Company; Muchinga Hemp Company; Eastern Hemp Company; Luapula Hemp Company; Northern. So we are good to go. And then we also established an association, the Zambian Hemp Growers and Industries Association, which we had put in place. We established that to assist us mobilize our people across the country.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had people that set up cooperatives, that set up companies, that set up various groups across the country in each province. And we had the chiefs that were participating also in the Zambian Hemp Growers and Industries Association as members, who offered the land where these programs could take place. So from our end, we were good to go. If only we had the commencement orders
in place,
then we are able to take off. There were investors also who had expressed
interest,
from abroad, who had expressed come and partner with us in these companies that we're going to set up, in terms of machinery, to bring the appropriate machinery and technology to be able to achieve all these objectives. So it was a masterpiece of a plan which could have really moved this country forward.
I like the fact that you had this idea and you decided to launch it, and you have decided to share it with government in the government in power then, the Patriotic Front, and the president himself, and he bought into the idea and saw the idea to be good. And it's depressing to note that it's been over 10 years that such a productive venture would be given a blind eye or a deaf ear. Until now, we're still struggling, when our neighboring countries, who obviously saw this idea that Zambia was making noise about it, they saw it fit to be implemented in no time. They are up there earning huge millions of dollars in their respective countries, and we're still struggling. It's if it's depressing an individual like myself, it must be worse with you.
It is worse.
And you've pushed it so hard that you took it into parliament, it became law, And now it's just two ministers who are sitting on a progressive matter like this. What efforts have you made to probably go and push it further from plot one, probably again, because then we are sitting on gold.
Well, we have tried, first of all, to lobby from our current colleagues in government, the ministers.
Yes. First of all, I remember how you were so frustrated at the time, and I think you must have taken the Minister of Health to court.
To court, yes.
Then what was that all about?
Well, what had happened then was this: we were pushing this agenda.
Yes.
And then at the time there was what was called the Dangerous Drugs Act. Okay, and the Dangerous Drugs Act recognized the medical application of cannabis.
Right.
Okay, but unfortunately, those provisions were not being implemented. Okay, in the Dangerous Drugs Act. So there was cherry picking in the implementation of the particular sections.
Right.
So when we had discussions with the DEC and other agencies,
right,
we said, look, our plan, the ultimate plan, is to have specific laws which are going to be to respond to the industrial application and medical application.
Right.
Okay. But in the interim, we need to start doing research which should be able to assist us make a lot of progress in terms of understanding what must be done because of our climate, our soils, and what have you. So why don't we use the Dangerous Drugs Act to start the research aspect, because it provides for research using cannabis.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, with Madam Bawe there as the head, she had no problem with that, provided we had the lawful authority.
Right.
Okay. And also even at the time the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, which was repealed, okay, it also had in Section 7 a provision which allowed for growing cannabis for medicinal.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
But that was not being implemented. So, but you need to have lawful authority. Now the problem was which authority? Because the Drug Enforcement Commission was not created for use of cannabis. It was created to regulate abuse of cannabis. So which institution could authorize the cultivation?
Right.
That was the question.
Right.
Okay. So when we looked at the Medicines Act, the act which regulates the medicines around under ZAMRA, we established that we could also use that, because it was also recognizing in a number of sections the import and export of cannabis for medicinal.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So I said, we can, in the meantime, within the existing framework, we can use this period to do a research while also waiting for
the laws
to be, So after establishing that, so we made an application to Ministry of Health, because Ministry of Health was the one which was regulating medicines under the ZAMRA.
Yes.
And it was also responsible for the implementation of the two acts, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1967, as well as the ZAMRA Act. Okay, so we applied, and then incidentally, there was no response from the minister. Now, the Zambia Act provides that if you make an application for a license, whether it is for opening of a pharmaceutical,
Yes.
or a chemist or whatever, and if 60 days lapse without response, then it is assumed that your license has been granted. Yeah, that's what the law provides.
Okay.
Yes. So when we waited for 60 days, and we were very happy as the days were ticking, there was no response from the minister.
Yeah.
So 60 days lapsed, and after that, we went to the minister. I went to the minister's office and said, "Me, I want my license."
According to the
According
law,
to the law,
you have granted me.
yes, in default. This is a granting of a license in default. So you failed, and me, I need this license. So no, okay, wait, we are going to get back to you. I said, but I need to start now myself. In fact, I've already started clearing the bush. So I'm starting. So now the minister says, wait. I thought he was going to come back with a positive response, only to hear him speaking in parliament, saying we can't allow anyone to grow cannabis in this country, and cannabis has no medicinal value. You spoke a lot of inappropriate language, used inappropriate language to discard the idea of growing cannabis. So I said no, but from our end, we have used the law, okay, to apply. This is the existing law. So that was the genesis for us to go to court. And we was at court. It was finally, although the High Court threw out our case, we went to Court of Appeal. We appealed to Court of Appeal. Before our matter was heard, there was a movement from government side that we need to start discussing. Instead of us proceeding with court, let's discuss and see how this thing can be implemented. And that was now the genesis of us start talking about the bills now to present into Parliament, and whatever which culminated into the Cannabis Act number 33 of 2021 and the Industrial Hemp Act number 34 of 2021. So it was quite a rough time, but
I hear you. But then look, you haven't undergone through all the difficulties, all the processes. To me, it appears that we have a country that has locked its own progress through cumbersome laws and bureaucracy.
Not even cumbersome laws, largely just bureaucracy and also unreasonableness. Yes, those two are the major. Bureaucracy and just being unreasonable, such that you want to close your eyes, even on straightforward things. You want to bury your head in the sand, even on very straightforward issues. Even when you can see that this is what needs to be done, you just want to close your ears for nothing. You understand? So this has been the biggest problem.
And I know the current head of state has complained of that.
He has complained of that, but also he is aware that there exists that laws that have not been implemented. Because there was a press briefing.
Yes.
When at State House, when he was asked by a reporter, I'm not sure whether it was Hot FM, to find out when those laws would be operationalized. And his response was that, I don't know. You understand? But we have also engaged a lot of ministers in between who must have told him that there's this. We have also engaged even his private secretaries to facilitate an appointment to see him so that we can go and discuss these issues.
In the previous, in the recent presser which he had, he talked about bring forward ideas. It was sung a lot in his address.
Yes.
Bring ideas.
No, which was very good for me.
And these are ideas that probably he would be willing to, listen to and call for speedy implementation.
Well, it's good that he spoke like that. But you see, for us as the Green Party, our agenda is very much known to the president, especially for this cannabis thing.
Yes.
You recall that we participated in the presidential race together.
Yes.
And I was on the same panel when it was debate time.
Yes.
Presidential debate.
Yes.
And the thrust of my program was on cannabis. So he knows about the program. You understand?
Yeah.
Also, you need to understand that at the time the laws were being passed, a number of his MPs, who today are ministers, were members of the committees of who I personally addressed to bring them up to speed on what those bills were all about. And today they are ministers. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's not new. And
it's not like you've kept this idea to yourself, restricted it to the party.
No.
This is an idea that any government,
to implement,
can implement.
Yes.
It doesn't need you to be in
government.
house.
No, and that's how we work as a Green Party. As a Green Party, we don't wait. If we have beautiful ideas, we sell those ideas to government of the day. Like we did sell the idea of cannabis.
Yeah.
Like we did sell the idea of the Environmental Protection Fund for the mining sector to President Manawasa.
Yeah.
You know, like we, even this government, besides the cannabis, we have made a lot of suggestions on what we can do to sort out the economic issues. Number one, the supply of diesel. Okay, because diesel now is very expensive and it's affecting greatly the production across the country.
Yes.
The cost of living is very high. One of the contributing factors is the cost of diesel. We came up with a plan on how we can supply reasonably priced diesel through our long-time partners in Zambia, the Russian government, and there was communication.
What is the idea?
Fine. You know, one of the major producers of oil in the world is Russia.
Right.
And Russia has got a lot of companies, subprastatuals and private, that supply. And countries like India, like China, and even some European countries are buying from Russia the diesel. Okay, so through our old friendships with the Russian government, we sold the idea, okay, to the Russian government. I think it was one time I went to Russia for our usual meetings.
Yeah,
and then that issue was raised, and through also the embassy here.
Yeah.
So there was there was communication between us and the Russian company.
And when you say us, you mean Green Party?
Of course. Mr. Sinkamba.
Not the Zambia.
Yes.
Yeah.
This man. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So there was the communication, and that communication was made available to government to say, look, guys, we can bring in fuel.
So this is a conversation that eventually the Russian government said it's doable.
Yes.
Let your government show interest.
Yes, that was it. And up to now,
the government hasn't showed interest.
Yes. You understand? And I've been pursuing government through Ministry of Energy.
Yeah.
For that communication to come through.
Again, you are a frustrated man in as far as giving alternative, workable ideas to governments.
Yes. Up to now, nothing has come forth from government. An offer. We can do this, put it in writing.
When the president speaks like he spoke, that bring ideas, what comes into your mind?
He's talking about PF, UCA, others. He's not talking about Green Party, because Green Party has presented ideas to resolve the economic crisis in the country. Okay? Diesel is one of them, like I've said.
Yeah.
And up to now, all we're waiting is just letter.
Meaning the Russian government, at the moment as we speak, is ready to supply cheaper fuel.
Reasonably priced fuel.
To this country.
Provided there's a letter from government to accept that or to request that we need this. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Because everything, the systems have already been put in place and shared with government. through ERB, through
Yes.
Ministry of Energy, so through Ministry of Foreign Affairs, things are already, the preliminaries are already done.
So that's
it's just commitment. That's one.
That's idea number one.
Yes. Number
away
two,
from
cannabis.
the cannabis issue.
Yes. That is
What
number.
is that?
Number two is the fertilizer.
Okay.
Yeah. Fertilizer, there are two types of fertilizer. One, the chemical fertilizers. Through those same connections,
yes,
there was an offer for free fertilizer to the tune of about 40,000 metric tons
from Russia.
Free
fertilizer.
Free fertilizer.
Why free?
Well, you recall that Russia.
They say sometimes
no,
you have to question when you're given something.
No. Russia has been our partner for a long time. You understand? From independence, in fact, pre-independence, up to independence time, it was one of the first countries to set up a base in Zambia, the embassy. You understand?
Yes.
And has supported us through thick and thin. Remember, there was the issue of fighting Zimbabwe, South Africa when we were trying to liberate them. Angola, Mozambique, liberation wars. Remember?
Yes.
You know that the biggest supporter to defend this country in terms of equipment and training was Russia.
Yes.
You know that?
Yes.
Was it conditional? No. And you know how much was involved? It's huge monies to help us. You understand?
Yeah.
In terms of training, a lot of students trained there in various fields, engineering, whatever.
Right.
You understand? Free. So when they say, okay, we have got excess fertilizer, which is stuck in various capitals or ports in Europe, which we are donating. I think they donated to Zimbabwe also. They donated to Malawi also. And a number of countries in Africa received. Okay? And Zambia was offered also 40,000 metric tons for free. There was no response from the Zambian government. I ran with that program. I've seen literally everyone from Foreign Affairs, Minister of Agriculture.
And what are they saying?
Everyone is
quiet.
Everyone is quiet. Secretary to the Cabinet. Say, let's get this. At the time, we were planning that because we knew that there was El Nino, you understand, which will affect the country in a big way in terms of food production this particular time.
Okay.
And our idea was that if we can get that, then it was going to complement government FISIP program. Okay.
So that the government doesn't spend more.
No, they could spend that threshold, but people were getting that elsewhere. You understand? So if, especially in the northern area, if you could give them a little bit more, because we knew that the rains there would not be very bad. Okay, they at least would be able to grow sufficient. But their main deficit was the issue of fertilizer. So why don't we, in addition to what government gives, we also complement that. So that those who are supposed to get 1 bag get 2 bags, or those who are supposed to get 2 bags, they get 4 bags. Those there's more fertilizer, it means more production. You understand? And it doesn't work out. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about solutions, and to those solutions, there was the third one, the biofertilizers. Because you see, we have a scenario, for example, in Southern Province. Okay? In Southern Province, which was the breadbasket for this country for a long time, the major producer of food, maize, was Southern Province, and it was, I think, the only one with the largest production capacity for maize.
Yeah.
But over the years, the soils there have been seriously affected. Okay, that's number one. Okay, they become less fertile because of use. Secondly, we are in the climate change mode now, where you anticipate to have less rains, okay, in especially the western side, the of the rail line,
right.
this side,
Right.
okay, you have less rain. So why don't we do this? We give these people some type of fertilizer which helps
Can reverse the fertility of the soil.
Yes, the fertility of the soil, and at the same time enhance crop production even when there's climate change. Okay, there's less rain, there is less humidity, and all other factors which contribute towards a good harvest. Okay, and that fertilizer, we presented the idea to
The Minister of
Minister of Agriculture,
yeah,
through their institutions, and also Minister of Green Economy through ZEMA, and you find that approvals are never coming forth. You understand? So then you start wondering, in this country, are we ever serious to resolve issues? So for us as a Green Party, in terms of even bringing industries, because a lot of Russian companies have expressed interest to come and set base here and assist us in terms of developing our industrial base. Yes, because that is the only way we can assist this country to develop sufficiently. And a lot of them, including banking sector. You know, we've had conversations with Bank of Zambia to try and see how we could establish a payment system for Zambians that want to purchase things from Russia, so to use the
Bank of Zambia,
through Bank of Zambia, and the central Reserve Bank of Russia. So there's a mechanism which they need to set to assist, so that one or two banks can have direct transactions. You understand?
Yeah.
We've had discussions like that with Bank of Zambia. Okay, and of course they may take a little bit of time, but we made quite a lot of progress with Bank of Zambia, and I think there are a couple of meetings that will take place pretty soon to try and see if these things can be formalized. So for us as a Green Party, I was trying to indicate that if we do our politics of opposition, but also play a role where
to existing government,
yes,
to say
we can do this.
We can do this.
We don't have to wait.
We've done this. All is left for you to do is this.
ABCD.
You can ride on them.
Yes.
And get the credit if you like.
Yeah, because for us, credit is not a big deal. You understand? This country, you know, we are very nationalistic in our approach. Okay, we don't look at Zambia as the only when I am there, that's when I can implement these things. But for us, if anyone implements them, and if Zachariah is a happy man, he can afford the cheap or reasonably priced food, he can afford to drive his car on reasonably priced fuel,